Dregs One. Welcome to another episode of the History of the Bay podcast, sponsored by the good people of Amoeba Music, San Francisco. Also got to give a shout out to our sponsors, HP Farms and STEM Social. Behind the boards, we got DEO. Behind the lens, we got King Sid. Got to give a shout out to the homegirl Priscilla in the house today. And we got another legendary guest. This is the History of the Bay. We cover all angles of Bay Area culture. We got one of the most diverse places in the world, and we got to represent it properly across all avenues, not just hip-hop, not just graffiti, but the law. And unless you've been under a rock, you've seen this guest in some shape, form, or fashion on a billboard, on a bus, at a Giants game, on the internet. I mean, she has been becoming a Bay Area icon, and as we're going to learn, it's not just about her marketing. She actually fiercely represents for her clients, and you know who it is. If something's wrong, you got to call Anh Phoong.
Hi, thanks for having me. Thanks for saying it's so good, too.
Of course. Thank you for coming through.
Absolutely.
We had this in the works for a while.
I know, I'm excited.
I'm very pleased that this came together because as we were talking about offline, for you, it's not just marketing. You actually have really built your business in an inspiring way, and I think there's a lot that we could talk about.
Yes, thank you.
Well, I always start at the very beginning. So for those who don't know, maybe tell everybody where you grew up.
I was actually born in San Jose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. 408?
Oh, yeah, 408. And I came to Sacramento, moved to Sacramento when I was about 9 or 10.
Got you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then grew up there.
So
most of my childhood and adulthood there.
Northern California.
Northern California,
Born and raised,
yeah.
And what about your family? What's their story?
So my parents were born in Vietnam, but they're ethnically Chinese.
Uh-huh.
So we're Chinese folks that lived in Vietnam and, immigrated over to America in 1979. And so I have 5 siblings, and my two older ones, a brother and sister, were born in Vietnam. And so when my parents came and then had me and my other siblings. So I have a pretty traditional immigrant family story, the one that says that we came on a boat with nothing but the shirts on our back. And that's the story my parents have always told us. And it's the truth of the story, right? They really coming on boats and coming to America to live the American dream. And so we grew up like so many immigrants with nothing and on Medi-Cal, no money. And my parents didn't know English. Very kind of typical journey. And it was, honestly, I think that I get asked a lot, where does all this drive and where do you get this from? And it's from them. I mean, can you imagine, coming to another country, you don't know a word, you don't even know, you have no help, you have no trade, you don't know how to communicate, and trying to survive. And that's what my parents did. They hustled. They learned a trade and learned English. And, they killed it, honestly. And they did hard labor. My dad's background, he does landscaping. And he's 73 and still works to this day. He doesn't have to, but they just want to work. So I think that's where a lot of my work ethic and my drive comes from and I think a lot of immigrants, having that same background, land of opportunity, I want to make my parents proud and make sure that I do good by them.
Wow, yeah, that's very impressive. And was education something that was a high priority in your household?
Yeah, just the typical, Asian parents, they want you to be a doctor and lawyer. And of course, at that time, it was just whatever. I wasn't seriously thinking about being a lawyer. I didn't really seriously think about being a lawyer until my late, almost my 20s, So I went through life knowing that my parents were forcing me to go to college, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't have a passion, but I was what am I going to do? I graduated high school and I went straight to community college. I did that, and then I went to Sac State, and I still didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was I got to pick a major now, right? What am I going to do? Well, what's safe and what's kind of easy, and so I picked business. So I was a business major, and then as I was almost finishing my major, I was like, I can't do this. This is boring. This is not me. This is not what I want to do. And so one of my general education courses I had to fulfill, I picked criminal justice. And then that's when it like, ding, 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 like the lights started turning on. And I was like fascinated by the concept of it, our justice system. And going to school was entirely different then when you want to learn the subject, right? And when you care about what you're reading and learning, like you're into it, right? It doesn't feel like, oh my God, I have to do this. I was excited. And so that's how I kind of got into criminal justice. I wanted to be a criminal lawyer. I wanted to be a defense lawyer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was hoping you weren't going to say prosecutor.
No. I actually, no. Just from what we've been through.
Yeah.
You know, and I worked at the public defender's office.
In Sacramento.
In Solano County,
in
707.
Solano County.
For 6 years. And I did that while I went to law school.
Wow.
So, decided that I wanted to be a lawyer. Started watching, like Law and Order and all that stuff. They make TV. They're just being a lawyer was so badass, and I was like, I want to be that person in court fighting for people. I wanted to fight for the people that didn't have money, and I wanted to fight for the people that needed the help but didn't have the ability to do it. So that's why being a public defender was actually my goal, my end goal. Like finishing law school, I didn't know what personal injury was or anything. I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna help these people. And working in my office, I 100%. The day I graduated, I still thought I was gonna be a public defender.
So was that like coming out of some of your own experiences or things you had witnessed growing up with the criminal justice system? Yeah,
we grew up poor. We had no there was no one to represent us. My brothers got in trouble. My oldest brother, is the reason why we moved to Sacramento. He was in and out of juvie. And, we had people help us along the way. And then the people that helped us treated us like people, right? They didn't treat us any different. They just wanted to help us. And so I just remember my parents, the way that we grew up was, especially in the Asian culture in the background, it was like, oh, leave it, don't complain, don't do nothing over, we're in America, this is not our home, and we've got to be quiet. And it's like, so they just hush about a lot of stuff, didn't voice anything. And for them, it was easier just to like pick up and move to another city. And that's what we did, was kind of leave that behind. And I think it worked. My brother turned out good.
Oh, that's what's up. Yeah, I mean, that sense of advocacy is really important. And a lot of people don't have that. One reason I was excited to have you on is because there's a few parallels between my own story, as I mentioned. I haven't talked about this much on the podcast, but for those who don't know.
Everyone's excited to hear about this. Yeah. I know I was.
I have a lot.
Let me ask you questions now.
Okay, we can flip. We can do a little back and forth.
No, go ahead. Tell your story first.
Yeah, I have a law degree as well. So similar path. For me, I didn't do very well in high school. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. I come from graffiti and hip hop and on the side working with youth programs, but similar story, went to City College. Eventually, like 10 years later, after dropping out a few times, made it San Francisco State, and then made it into law school at UC Davis, where I graduated, passed the bar, practiced for a few years. Decided it wasn't quite for me, stick to my original passion of the arts and creativity, but still the skills that I learned are kind of carrying me through this phase of my career. So I'm really interested to hear your side of the story because, like I said, there's a lot that I relate to. And the idea of, like you said, the lawyer on TV, the strong advocate. I got in trouble as a juvenile, too. I could have used a good lawyer here and there. I'm just excited to, have this dialogue. This episode of the History of the Bay podcast is brought to you by STEM Social. If you're looking for ways to improve your health, energy, and overall well-being, check out STEM Social's 5 Mushroom Complex. These capsules are a perfect dietary supplement to add to your vitamin regimen. The 5 Mushroom Complex has a ton of health benefits and can boost your daily energy and vitality. The supplements contain lion's mane, chaga, cordyceps, reishi, and turkey tail mushrooms. Each of these mushrooms have been used for centuries for their natural benefits. If you want to try STEM Social's 5 Mushroom Complex, check out stemsocial.io or go to the links in the description. This episode of History of the Bay is brought to you by TPP in partnership with Lost Soul Courier Collective. Last year, over 800 people in San Francisco died from drug overdoses. This is a serious problem that affects our entire community. I've personally lost several friends to overdoses, and many of us know people who have been impacted. We need to come together to support our loved ones who are at risk of overdosing. If you're around people who are using, remember to carry naloxone. And if you are in need of naloxone, you can get free delivery in San Francisco from Lost Souls Courier Collective by calling or texting 415-275-1922. For more information, contact Tracy H415 on Instagram or visit lostsoulcouriercollective.org. You can also get the links in the description of the episode. So when you said, so you went from graduating in undergrad, and then you went into working with the public defenders.
Yeah.
So that was like an externship?
You know, I was a legal secretary for the first few years. And then when you get into law school, you apply for internship and get credit. So then my third year, I interned while I worked as a legal secretary, was doing misdemeanors, just arraignments and stuff. And, the reason why I'm not a public defender today, two reasons. Number one was, honestly, like I said, I thought I was going to be one. They wouldn't hire me when I passed the bar.
What?
Yeah, after 6 years of being there, I thought I was going to,
Solano County?
Like understanding, right? Like,
what?
I'm going to be, I've been working here. And then it was during a bad time. There's a hiring freeze, 2011. And the county wasn't hiring us. So I was like, what am I going to do, right? But the second reason I think that, by chance, I'm not a public defender, was looking at all the cases that we took, because I was a felony secretary. So, that's everything from the murders and the robbers. And I was fine with that. Like going through those files, I was fine. I was like, I could defend this person. I know exactly what I would say, what motion. But then what I couldn't do was I could not defend the child molesters.
That is crazy that you said that, because I had an interview with the Alameda County Public Defender's Office, and they offered me the job on the spot. This was my first year of law school. Yeah. And they're like, we're going to put you with the predators. And this was like a program where it was basically advocating for them after they completed their sentence. They transitioned to a halfway house mental health facility and basically helping them prepare the applications to go back into society. And I was just ready to just, all right, let's see. But that's one thing people don't realize about public defenders or just the criminal justice side, on both sides, any side of it, whether you're going through it, on the judge, whatever. It's that's a lot every day to take that kind of work home with you and read those files and read the statements and look at the photos and all that type of stuff.
Couldn't do it. So what I would do is force myself to handle those files. And it just made, I just felt really, it was hard. And I have so much respect for the public defenders that can do that, because they're great people, right?
Yeah. Somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it. And these people still have rights, and they still, right? So, but that was the one thing that in the end I was like, can I do this? And would I be any good if I said I can only help people with these kind of crimes, but not this type of criminal, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I feel like, everything happens for a reason, right? So I didn't get into being a public defender.
Well, there's also a lot of questions too of doing that work of what works for these situations? Is incarceration? That's such a challenging area of the law that
it's hard, especially even I didn't have kids then.
Right.
I have kids now, so there's just no way I can do that, and I know that about myself now, 100%. I just wouldn't be able to. So. There's a different path, that was meant for me to do. Yeah,
for sure. So going back to even the application process to law school, did you cast so for those who don't know, this might be interesting for people who are pursuing their education, is that it's all based on standardized test scores, the LSAT. If the higher the score you get, the more schools you get into, the more financial age you're eligible for. It's a really intense process. I think I studied. I don't know. I studied
What'd you
like.
score? No kidding.
What I scored? I'll tell you offline.
You scored good enough because you walked into UC Davis.
I did pretty good.
You did pretty good. That's awesome.
Good. But it was a lot of work. I had to study like a full-time job.
Oh yeah.
Put everything else on the side for like a few months.
Yeah.
To take that test.
Now, at that time, did you have in mind that you wanted to, go to a school like UC Davis? Did you have a goal?
Yeah. I was like on some like I'll show you type of stuff because I was such a bad student.
Yeah.
And then by the time I graduated from undergrad, I was like straight A's, killing it, and I had some really cool mentors. For the first time, I had like Black male teachers, which I never had growing up. Yeah. And they kind of put me on the game of how to go to grad school and stuff like that. So I was like, I'll show you Harvard, Columbia.
Wow, that's awesome.
Which I didn't get to. I got recruited by some of those schools, but...
that's amazing.
Yeah, it didn't end up going to the Ivy League. But UC Davis, I believe at the time I got in there, it was like top 20 law school.
It's no small feat.
Shout out to UC Davis School of Law. But for you, was that like similar? You had to just kind of bunker down and study?
No. I did it all wrong. So it was like last minute, like, okay, I'm going to law school and I'm just I got to take this LSAT thing. What is this? And so I really wasn't serious about it. And, I was partying a lot, right? So, and this is where like, it's kind of funny now. I have all my friends back then, that I used to party with, and they're like, what happened? Ever since I started going to law school, it was like, bye, right? Because you had to take that stuff seriously. So I kind of half-assed it, and I wish I would have, took it more seriously, right? But I didn't even take a course, bought a book, did a bunch of questions. I don't even think I studied for 2 weeks, and that's the reason why I completely failed.
It's so hard though. Like people should know that test is incredibly difficult. Yeah, even if you're really smart.
Oh yeah.
And you did well in other schools,
it's not. It's
a different
not
animal.
A reading comprehensive type of question. Yeah. There's logic games. It's time.
It's time based
and so I failed that. Like, can you imagine just writing your name and like just closing your eyes? That's what I did pretty much. And so I failed, and so it was already out of the question. I knew that my score was so low, I couldn't even get to any school like UC Davis or even McGeorge. And so I was looking at my options, and I found a school called Lincoln Law School of California. It's a California accredited school, which is different than an ABA school, which is the American Bar accredited. So it's only in California, right? And you can only practice in California. And I knew I wasn't going to leave California, so I was like, okay, well, I just need to get into a law school and then take the damn bar, right? So I don't care where I go. So I applied there, and they were like, even the dean on there, right? So this is, a school that takes below, lower scores. And I interviewed with that dean, and he was like, are you kidding me? He's like, I mean, we got low standards, but even we can't take you. And I remember that so vividly. I cried. I was like, what do you mean? Like, that you guys don't care about these LSAT scores. Like, we don't, but this is like, we can't do this. And so it broke my heart because I kind of knew it was a long shot, right? But I felt like I had a chance. So the dean told me that you need to improve your score if you're really serious about law school. You're going to take the next one, and you're going to improve your score by 25%. 25% to get to their minimum, okay? So that's how low my score was.
It's a big jump.
I was bad. Like I said, I didn't give it my all, for sure.
Yeah.
And so then, for a moment, I walked out of there. I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm not going to be a lawyer. Like, this is hurt. Like, forget it, What can I do, I've got a criminal justice major, right? What can I do? And then I just did some soul searching, and I realized, okay, well, you know what? This is what you really want, Anne, and just study your ass off this time. And, take it again. So I spent my next couple months studying, taking a legit course, and really applying myself and learning how to answer those questions, the best answer for those questions. And I ended up scoring 27% better.
Nice.
So I went and applied and got in. And then, and my plea to him, the dean, that day when he told me no was, I was like, hey, I am not the smartest girl, especially on these standardized, like these ABC. I can't do that. But I'll tell you what, like, if hard work means anything, I will work my ass off. And he laughed, and kind of like you, it was like, oh, well, I'm gonna show you, right? And so the dean was also a professor. And so when I finished law school, I was the valedictorian of my class.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and it just, felt good. It was kind of like, ha, ha, ha to you, right? And any naysayers, anyone that didn't believe in me in that time. But no, it wasn't by all means. I don't think being smart has anything to do with it. Like, you just have to...
You have to know how to take that test.
You
have to hustle.
You have to put in the work, right? And if you put in the work, then you'll learn the method, then you'll pass. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's being smart, right?
Yeah, and I was going to ask, too, did you have any mentors?
Not during that time. I didn't know. I was first in my family to be a lawyer. Right. And no one showed to pave the way.
Yeah. Because I think one thing that's really interesting about your story and inspiring is, the representation of Asian women in the legal field is really low. I mean, if you look at the statistics, all minorities, Black, Indigenous, Latin, Asian, very highly underrepresented in law. It's a very elitist industry. That's the other thing about this conversation is bringing me back. This is why I don't do it anymore, because that elitism of like, oh, I went to Harvard, or like, you really meet these types of people.
Absolutely.
Like, where did you go? Lincoln, UC Davis. It's hard to for me, I was in school with people who are all used to being the smartest person in the room. Yep. People who are like I said, Ivy League students. Like, I was top of my class here. I was this, I did that. I went to the best private schools. I'm like, man, I went to a ghetto ass high school. Like, I don't have none of this.
You belong?
All the time, yeah. I felt like an alien. So it was very challenging. But I did meet along the way. Like, I was part of like the Black Law Students Union, and I was able to meet like judges, practicing attorneys, teachers who were like really giving me a lot of encouragement. So that's why I asked about mentorship too.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, there was obviously along the way, then, people started realizing, oh, she's serious and I'm going to do this. And so, like I said, like prior to that, I was kind of in a partying phase. And so I kind of understand why people wouldn't take me serious, right? Because I don't know how serious I took myself as well, right? But yeah, no, now my youngest brother, he's 12 years younger than me. So he's seen me go through that. So he's lucky. He has me as his mentor. So I really wish I would have had someone else in my life that's kind of like, hey, show me the way, and this is what you do. But we got, there's something to be said about figuring it out on your own, right? Yeah. And obviously you get help along the way, but there's something in that struggle, right?
Yeah, I think at some point I kind of do. Maybe we can talk about this. I want to create some type of pipeline for students of color and students from lower income backgrounds to figure out, like, how do you take the LSAT? How do you do the application? I
love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I would love to do that.
Yeah, we might have to talk about that offline.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's awesome. So, I mean, I feel like that's why it is important, though, for what you've done. It's because I'm sure, like you mentioned your brother, I'm sure there's other people out there who are seeing you now and being like, well, if she can do it, then so can I. So sometimes you have to be that pioneer to be the first one. And also, I feel like, the law is so hard, and law school is so hard. It's not like any other classroom curriculum, so I don't really care where you went, because I think just going and passing and completing it and passing the bar.
The hardest bar in the nation.
The hardest bar is in California, yeah.
And we have to keep lowering the scores for people to pass to get a higher pass rate. So
there's people
kudos
who,
to you for being able to do that, because it's and then you know what, it's funny, like all these people, the snooty Ivy League people, it's like we sit together. I sit next to you.
Yeah.
I'm sitting next to you, and I passed just like you did.
Yeah.
So how much better was your education? I mean, you can say, maybe it was better, but we took the same test. So that's what didn't matter to me. I was like, if I could pass it and the next person who went to Harvard passed it, like, how are we any different, right?
No, there's people from Stanford, Harvard, all these top schools that fail.
Absolutely. Because it's not easy.
No, and there's no shame in that either, because it's so challenging.
Yeah.
Was it hard for you to pass the bar?
I was excessive. And by that time, I already knew my study habits. And I was 100% all in every, I grew older too, right? And then when you get older, and then, like I said, a lot of the drive had come like from knowing what I wanted to do and how bad I wanted to be a lawyer after everything I'd gone through. I was that person that studied 16 to 20 hours. Like I just studied.
Yeah.
And over excessively. I mean, and even though I knew it, like I still studied. So I felt really good going in, but not good enough to say it out loud. Like I think I passed, but I felt like I was gonna pass. But I didn't say anything. And so when I did pass, I mean, it was surprising, but it wasn't, right? Like you kind of feel good about it. And so that feeling of passing was just, it was amazing. I knew it, but it's nice to know because when we did it back then, when did you graduate? Or when did you take it?
2019.
2019. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when I took it in 2011, it was really weird that you would have to type your name in the system, and then you type it, and then it's in red. It said, you are on the list. But when you see red, you're like, danger, right? So I'm like, wait, what? Am I on the pass list or not? Because all I did was see red. So it was funny moment that I always remember.
That is such a relief because it's like being at war where you're seeing somebody just fall down and, I failed. Oh, this is like, I passed, I made it. I failed. You're like, damn, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
But that's amazing that you went through all these different stages from your beginning as a child of immigrants to going through the city, your community college to undergrad to law school to passing the bar. So is that when you went to the public defender's office after you had the bar?
I was doing that together. I was in law school working full time at the public defender's office in Fairfield and Vallejo, and I would drive back to school 3 nights a week, and so it's a full time job, right?
Yeah.
For 4 years. And so when I had passed the bar, I was like, hey, I'm ready for it. And they were like, no. Sorry, we don't have a position for you. And I was like, okay, so what am I going to do? I didn't have a plan B. Like I really that was my plan, was I went to law school to be a public defender. And so so when I left their office, one of my friends was practicing in personal injury. And was like, hey, I could use some help, And I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I have I have to do something that, number one, helps people, right? And I have to have the passion for it because I didn't do all this just to do something I don't love to do. And so what I had realized was during working with him, we were advocating for people, right? Like on the plaintiff side as a personal injury lawyer, you're advocating for people who are injured from an accident, right? And that satisfied my need in terms of wanting like public service, and the reason of becoming a lawyer was to help people, right? So I found it pretty similar, and I was like, I think I could do this. And I worked alongside with him for a little less than a year, and I was like, friend, but he wasn't the greatest. And I was like, if he can have a law firm, I'm better than him. I could do a better job than him.
You mean like as a lawyer? Or
as
like
a lawyer and having a law firm, because it was
running
just a
the
solo
business.
practice. Yeah, solo practitioner. And I was like, if he could do it, there's no reason why I can't do it.
Yeah.
Right? Because he didn't come. He didn't get money to start a firm, and I was just watching. I was like, why can't I do it? And I don't think I even allowed myself to dream big enough to be someone who owned or had their own law firm. It was always in my mind, kind of like my parents, like, oh, you go through life and you work, you get a paycheck and blah, 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 right? And they always wanted us to do good, but owning and starting my own practice was, something I thought, like, okay, maybe in 10, 15 years after, being public defender, having experience, not right off the bat, right?
Yeah.
So, but because I didn't have a job, and I applied. I was trying to get jobs. I couldn't get a job. I could not get a job, and I don't know if it's because of the school I went to, the lack of experience, right?
It's hard for anybody.
Hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
that's another hurdle of this whole process.
Yeah, you're like, I passed the bar. Yeah. It's gonna rain, and then you're like, I gotta get a job, and suddenly it's hard, right? Like they don't tell you about that in law school, right? It's like it's cool. It's everyone's dream. You want to go to law school. You pass the bar, get a great job, but that's not always easy getting the job.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't get a job. I worked with my friend, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do it. And I was like, shoot, what do I got to lose, right? And so I opened the practice like the next month.
That is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, no, it is crazy, like, because, we did it with, like, nothing, right? I mean, like, my husband, I met him in law school. He's not a lawyer, but, he's by my side. And so
I say we... At law school? Or
during law school, yeah.
During law school.
During law school, yeah, okay. Yeah.
So he was not a law student?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So...
Wait, sorry. He was a classmate? Or
No, he was a classmate.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But he decided not to practice?
No, he couldn't practice because he's one of those that failed the bar.
Okay.
Yeah. So...
That's all right. You still got a nice
I know,
degree.
yeah. I still got JD. And... So, we kind of thought, hey, why not? Like, you work just as hard as him, if not harder. Why can't you do this? And so, okay, let's do it. And so we started the law office of Anh Phoong in our bedroom, in our spare bedroom. And we didn't advertise, no money to advertise. All we did was tell our friends and family, hey, anyone get injured? Call me, right? And sure enough, our friends and family started getting injured. Really weird, And people were getting into accidents. And so our business kind of like started self-funding itself because people were just getting into accidents. And then slowly, and then obviously by then we started to network and shake hands and realize that, you have to go out and shake hands and meet people. How are you going to get clients if you don't advertise?
So this is the other crazy part, though, as someone who practiced law for a while. I got into, I don't want to say the name of the law firm, but and I'm not trying to flex, but I got into like a top-notch worldwide law firm with hundreds of lawyers working for it. The top clients, name brand, blue chip stock client, corporate clients. Yeah. And the amount, I didn't have no idea what to do. They had to tell me, do this and do that. And there's some basic stuff from law school, but law school doesn't prepare you to work.
No, it don't.
So you're on the plaintiff side, filing lawsuits on behalf of your clients. Are you just looking through the Reuters guide, how do I do this? Sorry, I gotta file a lawsuit. I guess I should send out some interrogatories now.
Yeah.
And this is how do I respond to their interrogatories? Are you just teaching yourself?
I mean, so in the beginning, So I had my friends and I had a couple other lawyers that I knew, and I would just ask them for help. I mean, I was not too proud to ask for help because obviously, as a lawyer, if you have to be confident enough to represent your clients, I knew that I knew enough. And when we started litigating, if there was ever an issue, I'd be the first one. I had no problem learning the law, applying it, and getting the help that I need. So that was never really an issue. But, it is a little scary because then my first trial was against a 35-year-old partner, 35-year-old seasoned partner of a law firm against me. And I was on my first year and a half of being a lawyer. And I was scared as fuck. Sorry, I was scared. I did everything. And you know what?
It's intimidating.
It's hell yeah. I mean, he's 65 years old and he's seasoned around the corner. And I'm like, your first time. You're nervous and you're scared. And but I had the heart to fight for my client. And it was one of those cases where if I didn't do it, no one else would do it. So it wasn't like there was options, But still, I wanted to do good. And I remember when I met that lawyer on the other side, I was like, this prick. And he ended up being really, really good to me and nice, during the litigation process. And at the very end, when I gave my closing statement, he shook my hand at the end, behind closed doors, we're waiting for a verdict. He said, you did an amazing job for your first time. And of course I tried to pretend like it wasn't my first time. I was pretending like I've done this before, but he knew, our bar numbers. He was like a 8-7 or something, Yeah. So I was going up against him, and just to have him kind of give me credit, it meant a lot, And he was like, "You're gonna do very well." And I lost that trial, but he knew he kicked my ass. He kicked my ass on rebuttal. Oh man, I thought I did good, and then when he went up, I was like, "Fuck," and I just, But yeah, just to hear him kind of give me props on it, it was, and also goes to show you that even though the nature of our relationship, we're against each other, you don't need to be an asshole to your opposing counsel.
Yeah.
And I think that goes a long way. And what I learned early on was like, you work with the same people in the field, right? It's so small. Like, what is it? 1% of lawyers, 1% of the population of lawyers. And you run into them. Like, if it's not right now, it's the next case. It's the next case. So being nice and cordial and professional goes a long way versus just being a dick or a prick because you can. There's so many things that like have happened during my practice that could have gone different ways if it was handled differently, right? In terms of the relationships that I had with people. So your reputation goes a long way. Your word goes a long way. So if I tell a counsel, hey, I need an extension, well, yeah, they're going to grant it to me because I asked them and I've given them an extension. I've given them the courtesy. If I say no, they're going to say no to me, So I just think that in the world that we're in, it just always pays off to be nice and to be good. Like in general, not just in the legal field, right? Just in general, let's be nice to each other and be good to each other.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think in any field, like you said, being in music and arts, I deal with all types of personalities. Yeah. And some of these people are crazy, as my viewers know. But also, like, when in the law, though, that's really important because, like you said, it's oppositional. You're literally going against these people, and you're going to see them at one point or the other. And it's like the same faces you see going up are the same faces you see coming down. So just being cordial and professional and personable goes a really long way. But this is crazy. This is, I'm really glad we're having this conversation because I don't think people understand how much of a self-made woman you are. So you're starting a one-person practice. You're going to trial by yourself. Yep. No paralegal. No secretary. No, couldn't afford that. No, I wish, man. It was, like I said, but that's what I say, man, like, when you've got to do it yourself, it's a learning lesson. And like I said, I lost. I cried. I felt like, man, I'm a shitty lawyer, right? I couldn't win this case, and I felt so bad for my client. But do you know how much I learned? From that, like, man, like, because you have to get back up, bounce back up, and it's hard, when you fall. But you have to get back up, because you can't always win. Yeah. Right? So it's a humbling experience, but I think we need it, right? For sure, yeah. At what point did you feel like you finally got your chops up? Like, all right, I know what I'm doing now. After that trial, I was scared, and I was like, what if I lose again? And but I just kept going back and told myself, like, well, you didn't come a lawyer just to be a paper pusher, right? You want to be in trial, you want to be in the courtroom, and so that's when we were getting a little more and more cases in, and for a solo practitioner, I was doing pretty good, and just force yourself to go back in the courtroom again. And so when we started working from our home, it was just my husband and I. And then, started getting a little more cases. Okay, we kind of need some help. Hired my friend, hired his cousin, and things were just like naturally growing. And next thing you know, I have like 6 employees. I'm like, wow, like we've got a real law firm here. We got to actually get an office. And so the first, I think, 2 or 3 years, we were working out of our house. Like, obviously I couldn't afford rent. And then when I finally was able to, we got an office space, and we just kept growing the business. And I got to the point where this was about 5-6 years into being on our own, where I had asked myself the question, okay, is this it? Like, I could continue being a solo practitioner and handle, 100-something cases. Is this what your future is going to be like? Is this what you see? And that's when... I don't know if you heard about the story, but like how I started advertising. I think I heard bits and pieces. I want to get into that, but I have a couple more questions. Oh, yeah, sorry. Because that's a big deal. But, I was curious, too, about like dealing with your clients. So personal injury. So you're dealing with accidents, work-related injury, any other type of scenario? It's really just accidents. Okay. Like work-related injuries can be work-related injuries too. But primarily what we do like dog bites and slip and falls as well. Like when you fall at a store or something like that, or a dog bites you. But primarily we do, truck accidents, bike accidents, motorcycles, pedestrians.
But yeah, so our clientele, the people that we represent, are people that are hurt, right, and not at their fault. Like they've done nothing wrong, and it's hard to see that too because you know how it is. You're driving, you're biting all the rules, you're stopping, and then someone else does something. Some douchebag comes, does rolls on over and runs over a red light, and it's like, it's hard because these people are doing the right thing, right, all the time, and they get the short end of the stick. And,
yeah. Do you ever deal with somebody sometimes where you're like, dude, you're not that hurt, or like, dude, that was your fault. Like, I can't take your case.
Yeah, there's been a couple of times that people try to like lie to me, and I'm like, and if I know you're lying, I'm like, wait, this doesn't make sense. I can add this, and this smells right bad, and I don't want nothing to do. I will not represent anybody that's lying to me or trying to have me lie to the insurance companies. Like, no, we don't play around with that.
Because I think with personal injury, right, you have the term ambulance chaser, right?
Yeah.
And you deal with, there are some sleazy people out there who are just like, hey, do you want to make a quick buck here? Or let's just put one of those neck things on and let me roll you into the courtroom.
Everyone I represented has never done that.
Yeah.
And I think we do a pretty good job. And there's people who I think have faked it, but I don't represent them. I would not. Like I don't do that. We don't need, like there's legitimately people hurting all the time. When you use the term ambulance chasing, it's a negative.
It's a derogatory term.
Derogatory, and I get called that all the time on social media. People will call me that, and I always say that it used to bug me a lot because it felt like you don't know me, right? Then I don't know them, so they can say whatever they want, right? But what I had learned was that there are really bad lawyers out there, like that term and people's experiences. With bad lawyers, it gives us that name, and it's hard to overcome that. So I just try to do good by me and my clients, and so it doesn't bother me anymore because I know, I know myself, I know the firm I built, and I know the reputation that we worked really hard to maintain. Of course, I'm in this business to make money. I'm not sitting here like I don't make money, and that's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But I think it's very surprising when you try to say a compassionate personal injury lawyer or an injury lawyer who actually really cares, because all people think is we care about is just the dollars. I've taken so many cases for free, and I've waived my fee so many times just because it's the right thing to do, right? Like, so it's not always just about the money.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's really about helping people, and I had actually gotten into an accident myself, and that's kind of where I made the connection. And these insurance companies are dirty. They are dirty in the sense that if they know you have no lawyer, and you could be laid up in a hospital with a broken leg, and this is a true story, and they can send somebody right there and say, here's $1,000, and like to a 18-year-old kid, like $1,000 is a lot.
Yeah.
Sign it right there. They do stuff like that. And when his claim is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so that kind of stuff, that's actually, part of the reason why I started advertising too, was this is not right,
Yeah, it was because I was going to ask the flip side of that whole ambulance chaser thing is that there's actually people who need help. There's people who have their livelihoods put at risk because of some accident that is not a fault of their own. And it's a really tough position. And even when I was practicing, people were like, bro, can you help me? I'm like, damn, I'm over here doing spreadsheets. I don't do that kind of law. Right. See what I can do.
Yeah.
But it is a service that you're actually helping people. But you know what? The United States, we're a very litigious country. If you don't know what that word means, look it up, okay? Litigious, like we sue a lot of, there's like a lot of lawsuits. People plant the idea like, oh, you should sue, this or that. So I think that's kind of where you have predatory lawyers out there and people thinking that a lawsuit is a get-rich-quick scheme without even realizing, how much money it costs? I had somebody tell me about some stupid music-related thing that some person was threatening to sue them, and he was like scared, like, dude, they said they're gonna sue. I'm like, well, do they got money? Yeah. Well, no. I'm like, then don't worry about it.
That's very true too.
Not that like you can't get help when you really need it, but like for what this situation was, I was like, it wouldn't even be worth this person's time.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's get to the thing that made you famous. I mean, advertising is an important part of any business. Marketing, you can't really have a business without marketing. The legal industry, running a law firm, there's another thing I learned is the actual business.
Oh, yeah.
Branding and marketing and for a law firm is actually a lot of work. And crazy enough, you have like become an icon from your billboards and your other advertising ventures. So you were about to tell us how that all got started.
So when I was at the turning point of like, is this my solo practice? Is that going to be enough? Is this what I want to do? I had taken a trip. We were going on a cruise with my mom and my family. And right when I got out of the airport, I had heard this jingle. It was like 444 pain or something like that. And got in the car, heard it on the radio, saw the buses, saw like all the billboards, and then in the hotel, saw the TV. I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, who is this? So then I looked it up. And I'm like, I can't get, and then by the time we were going home, I was singing the jingle, and I was like, this is crazy. I was like, well, we don't have like nothing like that back at home in Sacramento. And I was like, do I want to be the one that did that? I was like, let's do it. And so the first thing was, let's figure out what kind of jingle, what kind of, thing that we could do that's going to stick. And so we had played around, my husband and I played around with a lot of things. And then, so then jokingly, he's like, something wrong, call Anh Phoong. I'm like, oh, I was like, that's so corny. And we're like, corny's good. We're like, corny works. And it's something that you will remember. So we kept saying it. We're like, you know what, that's it. That's what we're going to do. And that's kind of how we framed everything around something wrong, call Anh Phoong.
Wow. And who designed the original advertisement? I mean, I feel like you used Warrior colors, right? Which the Warriors, like when the Warriors are going on championship runs.
Oh, yeah.
Who's responsible for this? That's what I want to know.
So I do have a main marketing lady who helps me with like kind of everything. But a lot of it, I have different teams, depending on what we're getting done. And a lot of it's just me.
Wow.
I do what I like. And so they know, all the people that work with me, they're like, Anne's just going to do what she wants. And I just go by what I feel and what I like. And I've been wrong, don't get me wrong. But I just go with what I like. And I'm thinking like, if I like it, people must like it, right? I know that's not true. But in my mind, that's how I see it.
That's kind of is true for any type of art. And there is an art to advertising. Yeah. It's like really just go with what you like.
Yeah.
If you were to do I feel like your ads like reflect your personality. There's like the pose shows like strength, your womanhood, you're playing off your last name. It's very much your identity that's being expressed. If you were to do some traditional, Anh Phoong, attorney at law, it probably wouldn't have the same
and that was
effect.
strategy too, because so we have purposely put me in dresses because we didn't want the serious suit, and we had too many of those. I mean, that's exactly why I advertised, was because there's not too many people that look like me out there advertising. I mean, there's a lot of TV was going on. There wasn't a lot of billboards, at least in my area. And I was just like, well, do people really just think you can only have that old white man on TV be your lawyer?
Yeah.
I mean, because that's kind of like what it felt like. And so, a lot of it too was just like, I'm going to put myself out there because I want people to know that there's an option. And that if they need help, I'm there. And it was a hard, because, I'm the face of it. It's me, Anh Phoong. But I was very afraid to do that. Because like I said, like when you think about, especially personal injury, because plaintiff law is very, very dog-eat-dog, like And so when you think about a plaintiff's lawyer, like, do you normally envision a female and then a minority female? Asians are known, or supposedly known, like we have the reputation of being submissive, right? Especially Asian women, or like we're not, we don't voice ourselves. And so I was really afraid that people would look at that ad and be like, I'm not even going to call her. And so, but I decided that what I wanted to do was more important. Getting the message out there was more important than, my lack of self-confidence. And so the moment they started airing the commercials, the calls weren't even for accidents. It was just like, Ms. Phoong, thank you. And I'm like, for what? And they said, thank you for letting us know that you're there. Thank you for being a female. Thank you for showing my daughter. And I'm like, wow, like the response was amazing because it was the opposite of what I feared. Was people were saying thank you for doing something. It's like they've been waiting for it. It's really weird. And so I'm very like proud of myself for being able to overcome that and doing that. Not just because it built my business or whatnot and we've expanded it. It has nothing to do with that. It's just it means a lot to me, like to be able to inspire or let people know, young girls out there, like someone that looks like me can do that. Like, I love that.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I think, honestly, that was kind of my first reaction, too, when I first saw the billboards. I remember seeing, oh, damn, there's another one. Oh, damn, there's another one. And eventually, like, this might have all been in the same day, too. And I just remember kind of being like, good for her. Like, that's dope. Yeah. Okay.
And that was a lot of the response. There's a lot of people just championing, just saying, like, good for you. Like, and I appreciate that because as a community, we're supporting each other, right? And we need that.
Yeah.
We need to support each other. You don't know me, but, like, you see me doing good or whatever, you're like, shh.
Yeah, I mean, I deal with a lot with this in, like, the music space of artists who have a hard time with marketing, especially in social media. They think it's as simple as uploading a video or making a post, but they don't understand that your audience is going to notice when you're pushing your product or your service. They're going to notice that, like, oh, wow, they're really trying to get this out there. That's what's up. I see them. Maybe I should check this out.
Yeah.
Because if you're not showing that you take it seriously and you really care about it, you can't really expect other people to care about it. Okay, so on the business side, I mean, we're talking about the cultural impact. How has this expanded Phoong Law?
How's it expanded? Okay, so going from like size, starting off with just me and my husband, I think I have 65 or 7 employees now. And we have 8 lawyers in our team.
Right, you said 65 or 65 to 67?
I don't know, because we just hired some people too. I don't even know. But we're, instead of just in Northern California, obviously the Bay Area, we last year started our LA office.
Yeah, DEO called me, was that yesterday? Like, bro.
That was there.
Yeah. He was in LA yesterday.
So we started LA, launched San Diego this summer.
Wow.
And so we're kind of just doing this whole California dominance thing. And my thing is just, you know what? I'm still sort of young. I feel pretty good.
Of course.
I'm not young, but I feel like this is the time to do it, right? Like, if it's not going to help me when I get older, I'll tell you that. So if I'm going to do this, it's going to be now while I still have that drive and that energy to expand. And I was telling Priscilla, I passed the Nevada bar.
Woo!
So hopefully be multi-state. I didn't take the MPRE yet. So that's what I'm studying for. So I passed the Nevada bar in February, and I take the MPRE in 3 weeks.
That's the personal rules and responsibilities or something like that.
Yeah, the ethics test. The morals test, yeah. So I have to pass that, and then I'll be licensed and hopefully start up Phoong Law in Nevada.
That is crazy. You know, when you think about all these law firms, I worked at a law firm that was over 100 years old.
Ooh, yeah.
And they all have, white man names.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to say any names, but you just use your imagination. Cromwell and Smithsonian attorneys at law, To think that there might be a law firm one day that has that type of longevity with the name Phoong is, like, pretty amazing.
Thank you.
Because I could see it, going that route of growing.
It wasn't like I started, like, that wasn't the goal. But, as you meet each goal you make, your goals and your dreams get bigger, right? Mm-hmm. You don't stay complacent. But when you say that, like, it's not far-fetched, too, as well. Like, to continue growing. And I think there's something about the legacy of my family name. Oh, and let's clarify this, because I know you guys are probably wondering, is it Phoong or Phoong? I know you're going to ask me that, right? So, obviously, Phoong, if you pronounce it, should be Phoong, right? But it's not something wrong called Anh Phoong, right? But we actually do pronounce our last name as Phoong. And when my family came from, when they immigrated over here, when we had to write our names down, my parents didn't know the difference. And so they're telling the people Phoong and didn't know the difference between 1-0 and 2-0. And so they wrote down 2 O's, and we went by that.
Wow.
But my name, so I go by Phoong because that's my family's name.
Yeah.
But I know it's supposed to be Phoong, but I don't call myself Anh Phoong.
Whatever. That's your name. You know what I mean? That's the correct spelling. 2 O's, people get it right.
2 O's.
And it's Anh Phoong.
That's right.
Yes. Do you have other attorneys working under you now? Or
yeah, I do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have a team. Wow. I have a really, really, really good team. And one of the cool things, I was telling you earlier, my brother, 12 years younger, has been a lawyer with me for 2.5 years now.
That's amazing.
It is. He went to San Francisco State.
Nice.
And his last year, for 4 years while he was going to college, I was like, I have this law firm. I want to build something. Go to law school. And he's like, no. He was in a fraternity. He was partying. And the last thing he'd think about was another 3 or 4 years of school, right? So sure enough, I finally stopped bugging him his sophomore year. I was like, this kid's not going to take it seriously. So then I guess he kept seeing, how we were growing. And then sure enough, on his 4th year, he calls me one day and says, hey, sis, how do I go to law school? What do I need to do? I was like, are you being serious? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, you got to take the LSAT. And sure enough, he did. Then he moved back home, went to the school that I went to, passed the bar first time from Lincoln Law School, okay?
Nice.
Shout out to Lincoln Law School.
Yeah, they better put you on their wall of fame.
No, seriously. I mean, from that school, you know what the pass rate is? 43%.
Woo!
43%, yeah. So it is not a lot of people pass it. So for him us to be one of the 43%, so I work with my brother, and we're waiting to do our first trial together.
Oh man, that's so amazing. That's exciting. For someone who's interested in running a Billboard campaign, because I feel like with the internet, people are kind of sleeping on billboards, and you can get one of them, a hood billboard in East Oakland or something like Hunters Point. You can get that for pretty affordable rate, I feel like. Yeah. But I don't know, ballpark range, what does it take to to become a household name? I mean,
man.
Or just maybe that initial campaign that you
the initial campaigns were huge because we do our launch. And that's probably why you see me every corner, because it's I wanted that feeling of you can't get rid of me, I mean, it's different for every city, right? But when we first started off, maybe a few $100,000 a year. And now we're at a few million. So, but because we're expanding, right?
Yeah.
And I know it hurts when I say that, but and a lot of people ask me, does it work? The billboards work? And I mean, I don't know. The number one calls that we do get, people say, we always ask, how did you hear about us? And they say, billboards. Number one and number two is billboards or referrals. And so, but surprisingly enough, of all the calls, the cases that we do get, the majority of them are really from referrals or from either prior clients, or a referral could also be someone that saw the billboard, but they didn't, their mom told them to call, or my mom just told me to call you. It could be a referral from, a family member or a friend. And so though they do work, I think a lot of, we've sustained our business too, just because we do good by our clients and the word gets around. Oh, she's actually good. She's actually a good lawyer. And so that is just kind of propelled it, right? Because, like I said, it only takes you, we've had markets where we've tried within California, the whole advertising and didn't work. People didn't respond. And there were more the tight-knit bedroom communities, right? And so, like I said, it's not a guarantee just because you buy the space, you buy a billboard, you put yourself on TV that they're going to call, right?
No, yeah.
So we spend a good chunk of change.
You got to spend money to make money, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to spend money on myself and bet on myself than anyone else.
I like that. I mean, There's that phrase, scared money don't make money,
Absolutely.
and I deal with people who are scared to spend money sometimes.
Yeah, it's scary.
Personal and professional, and it's all good. I get it. But I think in like the rap industry, which is where most people are probably watching who are connected with us, people don't understand the value of marketing or running ads, or they think it's like a cheat code or something. But it's crazy that the biggest companies that you wouldn't expect to even need advertising are the ones who spend the most on it.
Right. Absolutely.
McDonald's,
Yep.
Coca-Cola,
Yep.
Starbucks.
Yep.
I mean, and they also don't look at it like, all right, I paid for one magazine ad.
Right.
Let's wait for the phone to ring.
Exactly.
It's like, no, you have to be consistent at this.
You have to be consistent.
And I think for someone like you with what you've done with the Billboard marketing, there are going to be times where people just see it and like, oh, okay, that's cool. All right. And then eventually it's like, God damn.
Yeah.
Like, Anh Phoong is everywhere.
Yeah.
And at this point, like, there's not a single person in Northern California, and it's getting even further, that, like, doesn't know who you are. Like, everybody knows who you are now.
Yeah.
So salute to you for that.
Thank you. I didn't think that, I never imagined it when I started, because, like I said, it was just kind of, let's just do this. And when we started advertising on the Bay Area, it was always, I'm from San Jose, and the Bay, I've always loved the Bay Area. And we're like, during COVID, I'll tell you this, it's funny because I got a discount during COVID because it's COVID, it was like right after, like,
Isn't it crazy how many people took the opportunity during COVID?
And so we're talking about scared money don't make money, right? And so I was thinking, if we're going to do this, like, I bet you there's some good deals. Like, no one's buying any boards right now. So I call my guy. I go, what deal you got for me? He's like, I can get you 300 boards for... I'm like, what? I was like, okay. Like, from what I normally pay, I was like, let's do it. I was like, let's do it. And so that's kind of how we kind of got that jump start, like, because it was so cheap.
Yeah.
And they're damn expensive again now. But definitely took advantage of it when we had that opportunity. And it was that kind of thinking, that mindset of, I was like, what is everyone else doing?
Yeah.
Everyone's saving their money because they're afraid, right? Everyone's not spending money. It's probably the wise thing to do. But, like, the biggest risk get the biggest rewards, right? And so that's why I was like, you know what, let's pull the trigger and let's do the Bay now while it's kind of cheap. And we just maintain everything now. And so we don't do as much. We don't do 300 throughout the Bay like we did before. It's only about like 100.
Okay. Yeah. That's crazy. I mean, at this point, too, like, there was an article that came out recently in 48 Hills, I believe, right? Was that the article about you, and you were hosting an appearance at the Stud Bar?
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. That was so much fun.
That was a great article. I'm sorry, the name of the author is escaping me at the moment. But the article was really interesting because it covered that event and basically like was talking about how you have like become an icon now. I
know, it was weird. Like that word icon, like you said it, and I'm just like, I don't see myself as one, but they kind of dubbed me as one, and I don't know how to like take it in. Like I blush. Like I'm still very like I'm humbled by it because I'm like I'm just little old Anh Phoong. Like, but the people that think that, like my fans, are so sweet. They're so cute. So I went to the Stud. They invited me, and it was out of fluke. They were just like, hey, they emailed me about a month before the event, and they're like, hey, we're doing this reopening of the Stud. Have you ever been there? And we'd love for you to be there and do the ribbon cutting ceremony. And I had hemmed and hawed about it because, number one, it's a club, and I'm a lawyer. I didn't know how professional that would look, but my gut wanted to do it. I was like, oh, this is cool. This is fun. And so I kind of just ghosted it for a little bit. And then, like, the week before, I was like, you know what? I don't fucking care what people think about me. And that's what it came down to. Because, the host was asking me, he's like, so can you come? And I was like, you know what? I want to do this. And I'm not going to sit back and think about, well, what do these people think about Anh Phoong? You know, if you don't like it, fuck you. And that's the truth. And I told them, I was like, I'm going to come, whatever backlash people give me, whatever, that's fine, I'll take it. But I want to do this. I believed in what they were trying to, because, so the story behind that was they were closed because of COVID, and they couldn't open for a few years. So it was a big opening, and I wanted to be there and support the community for that. So I was like, fuck it, who cares if they think that Anh Phoong's just a lawyer that goes to clubs now? Like, I don't care, I had a good time. I had such an amazing time. And I got to dance, got to drink a little bit, and take some pictures with the fans.
Yeah, the article said people were like bringing bats for you to sign. Oh my gosh,
yes, yeah. It was so sweet. It was. They painted it back silver and put Swarovski, they hand did it the day before and glued on this crystals for me. It was sweet. Really sweet.
That's dope. I mean, I think that's the thing about the Bay Area is like we're really proud about our local scene. If you're from here, you remember all the old school jingles, right? If I say the name Tom Shane, for example, everybody's gonna know you got a friend in the diamond business. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Not just any BP, 19th Avenue BP. You remember that one, D.O.? So these are like the things we grew up with on the radio and the billboards, and it's more than just the advertisements. It's about the people that they represent. Yes. And I think you've done an amazing job at integrating yourself into the local community, into the local culture. But I think, as you said, it's like you can't have great advertising and a bad product. So I'm sure, your lawyering is speaking for itself. You wouldn't be making these types of moves if you weren't a determined hustler. And interesting enough, I mean, we talked about a little bit offline, but there's some other people, maybe adopting the same strategy and putting some billboards out there.
Yeah, more power to you.
There you go.
Absolutely. If you're gonna, I welcome the competition, right? Because we need competition, right? In our lives and just everything. It drives you, right? When you have a competitor. And I have no problem for people who are playing fairly. Mm-hmm. What I do have a problem with is people who don't play fair and play dirty. And what I mean by that is people who are trying to buy my name, people who clients think they're calling my office and calling another law firm and say, Ann's here. And then they'll sign them up and then pretending my clients.
That's crazy.
No, and it's dirty. And that's where I said, the whole reputation about bad lawyers. I understand why the community and public is gives us a bad name, because there's dirty lawyers out there. I mean, there's a ton of good ones too. But the bad ones are so bad, right? And not just on little things like that, but just in general, right? And like I said, if you're going to compete and put billboards at me, I have no problem with it. And if people want to call you instead of me, you did good, right? But if you're going to sneak around and buy my name and not work up your own name, right? It's been dirty. And it's just kind of part of the game too, though. And
it is, yeah.
It comes with the territory, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about haters, too. I think it's easy to dismiss you as being like a bus stop lawyer, like Better Call Saul or something like that. I'm sure you've heard that before,
yes,
too.
100 times.
But you know what? Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, I get hated on, too. Who can hate on this? I don't know. But anytime something like that comes up, I just have to take it as a compliment, because at the end of the day, people are only going to throw shade at something that is shining.
Yep.
And if you're not, I don't know, if there's a certain point where you reach a level of growth where it's just inevitable.
Yeah.
Your success is just naturally going to make people feel insecure about their own failures, whether you intend to or not. So I think it's all just a testament to your success. I think also being a woman, too, I think in a primarily male-driven industry, like the legal industry, some guys can't handle that.
Oh, yeah.
Getting their ass kicked by a girl, as they would say.
Oh, yeah. It happens, and I'm just, like I said, I was telling a story about a competitor that had some bad things to say about me and my advertising, and I don't even know your name. And it's like, I must be doing something to your book of business for you to hate on me so much. I mean, it just, I don't get it. But like I said, I always say, I sleep good at night. I sleep good because I'm a good person. I'm a good lawyer. I do good by my clients. And if that's how you want to do, you want to be dirty, you want to play dirty, that's on you. You know, I try to just accept that I can't control these things.
No,
right?
of course. And it comes with the territory. You're putting yourself out there in a very visible way.
It definitely comes with it. People, I'm putting myself out there, and like, what am I going to expect, right? It's kind of like, and this is another subject I do want to talk about, putting myself out there, right? And I think a lot of people think of it as, oh, she's, you know, a pretty girl. Like, and I've had people like on social media make comments like, oh, her dress is a kind of low, or like, you know, like that's a, you know, whatever, her curves and whatever. And I know that I have to take that in, right, as part of it. And when we first started the advertising, you know how many times my husband wanted to go beat someone's ass, right? Because they would like leave messages to, you know, but it all comes with it, right? We all knew that if we're going to do this, you know, the good comes with the bad. But I think that people still, you know, underestimate and just think like, oh, it's just a pretty face. And some people don't even think that I'm the lawyer. They're just like, oh, that's a girl on the Billboard, and that she's not the lawyer, or like she can't be good because she's just a pretty face, or she's just selling her body. Like, okay. But like I said, used to get to me, and I accepted it because I'm putting myself out there. So I'm gonna take all the feedback, negative or good, that comes with it. But it doesn't mean that doesn't get to you, right? Like, you gotta have thick skin.
Yeah.
But, you know, some of the comments are, you know, it's, you know, I'm only human, right?
Yeah.
And people have recently said stuff about my braces and my teeth and my mouth, and it almost made me cry.
Oh.
And I'm like, so, and I get, you know, I go in spurts of it. But one of the things that someone had said was, I was like, oh my gosh, I just can't read comments anymore, because it was like, you know, it was really mean. It was like a bully. And I'm like, why the fuck are you even following or even saying anything if you ain't got nothing nice to say? Come on. And I feel bad. Then it starts making me think about the kids and what they go through. And I'm a freaking grown woman. I'm an adult. I could take it. Like, I might cry one night, but I'm good the next day.
Yeah.
But when I think about the kids and, like, how this affects them and all the bullying that's going around, like, it's really sad. It's sad.
Yeah.
That's what we have to deal with. Like, yeah, so I get it. I'm inviting, you know, comes with the territory, but it's just mean. Like, be nice, people.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's like a disturbing symptom of our society right now that, you know, anything public on the internet is gonna get talked about like that.
Yeah.
I happen to notice a lot of the people leaving these comments don't show a profile picture. Mm-hmm. They have very few followers typically. Mm-hmm. Okay. You just don't really see happy, successful people engaging in that type of behavior of tearing people down. So, you know, what people need to realize is when you're putting that stuff out there, you're saying more about yourself than you could ever say about the person you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
And people talking about your braces and all that. Let me see your teeth.
Yeah, I know.
Come on, man. Put your face on a billboard.
Of course, they had a rose on their profile picture, okay? Yeah, you know how hard it is to put your face and, like, know that, like, people are gonna talk shit to you, you know? It's hard. So, I mean, as a woman, too, right? Like, you know, I want to be respected as well as an attorney. But I will tell you that I started commenting on one of the comments. I was like, reply back, and I'm like, you fucker. I was like, do you know what I've been through? And do you even know, like, I couldn't get braces when I was young because my parents had no money. And I've always wanted to get braces, but I had no money. And I finally can afford to get braces, but when I could afford it, I was too ashamed to wear braces because I was afraid I'd look ugly. So I finally had the courage to wear some freaking braces and hear, you know, all these comments. And then, like, so as a mother of a daughter, and I'm really trying to, you know, preach what I say too, right? I'm trying to teach her to love herself and don't care. Like, I'm embracing them. I love them some days and I hate them the other days, but that's just kind of how it goes, right? Life is up and down. I tell my daughter, like, the one thing that if I could ever teach her anything is, like, love yourself. Like, fuck everybody else, because I'm scared. Like, going back to, like, these comments and, like, bullying, I'm so scared of the world that they're growing up in, with so everyone just talking shit behind keyboards, and then it's just bots, right? You don't even talk to people, right? Then it's just all fake, and then you all worked up for nothing, and then you hear about these kids committing suicide, and it's terrible. It's scary.
Trolls. There's like this comedian. His name is Ben Palmer, and he goes on, like, he'll create like fake accounts, like pretending to be Walgreens or something, and he'll just like troll. Like crazy right-wing Republicans. He'll put something up about LGBT Pride Month sponsored by Walgreens, and then people will comment, and he'll just go and troll them, and it's just some guy laughing at them. That's what I have to remember too, is like some of these people are just trying to get a rise out of you, or just be like, bro, Anh Phoong commented today, bro. Look, I said her braces look crazy. She wrote back. Like,
so I didn't reply to that. I deleted it, right? Because I'm like, okay, be smarter, Ann. But the next one, I got trapped. This one wasn't about my braces. This person had the audacity to say, oh, yeah, she didn't even go to a top-tier school. That, I was like, oh, no, I'm going to get you, motherfucker. I was like this. I was like, where'd you go, pub? Where'd you go? I'm like, I'm sure you're not a lawyer. And then I'm realizing, like, about 8 replies after, I'm like, this motherfucker, 2 followers. I was like, oh, Ann, why did you let yourself, like, I was more disappointed in myself. Yeah. Because I was so enraged into it. And see, that's the thing with the social media. It's good and it's like, it's bad. And so what I told myself was like, be careful. Like when I read stuff about me, like I'm scared. I almost like read it with one eye open and one eye closed. And it's, you know, just I just want people to know out there, like, you know, your comments, like, I think that people might have the conception, oh, she's, you know, she's putting herself out there, so she must think she's beautiful, or she must have, you know, but no, I have insecurities, and like, you know, like I'm human, and your words hurt, but I also want to put the message out, like, also fuck you if you want to be mean, you know, like, no time for that, like, and that's the vibes I want to get is just like good vibes, like just good vibes all around. I don't know if you could tell, but like I'm generally like I feel like I'm a good, decent person. I'm a happy person. Just don't fuck with me. You know? I will always be nice. I always choose that, you know? But if you come for me, I'm going to come back, right? But I just think that there's just 2 sides of it, too. You know, putting your face out there and then dealing with the backlash. It's not always good. Yeah,
when you mention kids, I'm like, man, they need to start teaching that in schools. How to deal with internet haters, because it happens to the best of us where we get caught in that cycle sometimes. But honestly, the best thing is just ignore it, keep it pushing. If you gotta block somebody for your peace of mind, block them. It's not a big deal. But I mean, this is also why I'm really glad you're here to share your story, because there's so much more to you than the Billboards, which I knew there was. Really interesting backlash. I can only imagine what it's like for like women's body positivity, because it's like, it's not like your billboards are like sexually provocative.
I don't think so.
You're just wearing a form-fitting dress. It's not particularly revealing in any way. But it's like if a guy wears just some regular old outfits, they're not, even if the guy is like flexing, that might work, right? Some guy, let me defend you. Some buff lawyer guy. But I think it's just inherent in the field. But I think it's also inspiring, and why this has gotten such a crazy response is because people are really admiring you as a pioneer and a trailblazer. And I think putting yourself out there is very valuable, and I applaud your work.
Thank you. It's like I said, it's a blessing, and there's good days and there's bad days. Most of it's good. And shout out to my queens out there, okay? Like I don't think I've gotten backlash from females.
Yeah, I bet.
But like the girls aren't hating on. They're not like talking shit about like I get nothing but love. And I mean, like, you know, like the guys are, you know, the comments I do get are bad. Actually, all the ones on my looks are from men. Yeah, all the mean ones are from men. And I'm just like, who taught you guys, okay? But yeah, all the females, all the women, like all positive, all good. Like just go queen, and we love you and support. No one's ever commented on my body, on a female. So I'm just noticing and realizing that as you said that.
Amazing.
So shout out to all my queens out there. Love you guys. Seriously, that's amazing. Like that's what it's all about is supporting each other, and not just, you know, like in all realms, right? Being minority, but being a female. And I think, like you said, going back to being like, you don't see too many women lawyers that own the firm. Like you see, there's tons of women lawyers, right? Like women and minorities, but like to actually be the owner of the firm. Yeah. Like this is my firm.
Good point.
Right? And you don't see that much, see so much of it out there. I mean, there's more than just me, obviously, but it's not, what you see all the time. And so, if I could encourage or empower anybody, like not even just in the legal field, just in anything. I went to Sac State yesterday, and I heard a young gal who said that what she wanted to do was one day, she teaches dance. She wants to open up her own studio in her name. And I was like, man, how good does it feel to be like 20-something and have dreams like that? And I was like, I'll tell you what, that was me. Like 10 years ago, I was like, I'm gonna open this firm, and who'd have thought, right? So, and so I just told her, I was like, you can do it. And she's like, are you serious? I'm like, you can do it. And I told her to hit me up, and I was like, if you ever need help or anything, like, let me know. But she was, minority as well. And I think she was just like, really? I'm like, yes, you can do it. I was like, you can do this. And the people that think you can't, get rid of them.
There you go. I love it. That's why I'm so glad you're here to join us to spread that message. Yeah, it's been a pleasure hearing all this story. I feel inspired.
Oh,
I'm going to keep pursuing my creative dreams. Is there anything else coming up that you want to talk about, or any shout-outs you want to give? Or
no.
What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
866-GOT-PAIN.
You know the number, you know the name. Something wrong, you better call Anh Phoong. And if you watch this interview and decide to hit her up, please let her know that you got the referral from the History of the Bay podcast.
Thank you.
But this has been a real treat. Thanks again, Anh Phoong, our lovely guest, amazing lawyer, amazing businesswoman. My name is Dregs One. Shout out to the whole team. Shout out to the sponsors. Shout out to you for listening. And we'll be back soon with some more. Peace and love.
Recognize where you got the game. We got our own style, got our own slang. Northern California is a West Coast thing. This is the history of the Bay. Recognize where you got the game. We got our own style, got our own slang. Northern California is a West Coast thing. This is the history of the Bay.